Brodes Media.
Wow. How about it? A linebacker from Howie Roseman in the first round. Technically, on paper, Jihaad Campbell. But they're not going to use him like a prototypical linebacker. You got versatility. Hell, you got a football player. And I think that's the main important takeaway from this selection at 31. Truth is, I think I've seen enough out of Howie. That sounded so negative. But when he talks about having game changers, game wreckers, legitimate weapons, it doesn't matter what position they play. You get them on the Eagles. That's why they paid Saquon Barkley. That's why they paid All-Pro Zach Bond. The position? It doesn't really matter. If you have an effect on the game that is going to cause havoc, that is going to affect the other team's passing game, then here we go. Let's go make a splash. Let's go watch you make an impact on a week-to-week basis. And that's what Jihaad Campbell is going to do. I think this kid's a stud. Now, I actually went through a couple of different mock drafts over the last few weeks over at Bleacher Report, as I do Eagles Daily around 6 o'clock Eastern, Monday through Thursday for the most part, unless there's a conflict with the radio station. And I remember looking at a specific mock, and they had Jihaad Campbell going to the Eagles, and I thought, well, they have Nakobe Dean. They have Zach Bond now paid. I don't see this one really coming. But the way that Howie is looking at this, all we need to do is make sure we generate pass rush. I don't care where pass rush is coming from. Get pass rush. BG retired. Josh Sweat left to Arizona, which sucks, by the way, that Walter Nolan went to Jonathan Gannon, that fucking fraud. He ends up stealing who I really wanted to target in this draft. Plug him next to Jalen Carter. But I love what you got in Jihaad Campbell anyway. This kid's going to be all over the field. He's going to be sideline to sideline. And you know, all those times we would get angry when Derek Barnett would drop back into coverage and you go, why? Why? Now think about being a quarterback that sees at the line of scrimmage Jihaad Campbell, but you don't know if he's going to flourish with, I don't know, attacking you and getting in your face, or if he drops back, it's actually someone who has substance over the middle of the field. But you have that and Zach Bond. You got Vic Fangio with the ability to be creative, with the ability to be unique, with the ability to have like a Swiss Army knife on top of Cooper DeJean's Swiss Army knife. And I know they found a nice role for Cooper DeJean, but maybe that's the way that Howie is starting to look at this, where you have versatility all around the field, which just throws off the offense because you could do as much tape study as you think you do. And here comes Vic Fangio, zigging when you zag. Howie said something very important last night during his media availability, and he said the league has changed. It's all about having guys with a ton of speed. Let me tell you something. Jihaad Campbell, dude at 6'3", he's going to be popping people's helmets off. He's already done it. That little fraud that the Giants snuck back into the first round for, Jackson Dart. There's videos going viral of this man wrapping him up, meeting him in the middle, and popping off his helmet as he takes him to the ground. This dude's mean. He's intense. South Jersey kid, went to Timber Creek. And oh, by the way, one of his favorites, B-Duck, baby, B-Duck. Did I think that they would go with the more traditional pass rusher all throughout the night? I did for a while there. Once I saw Will Johnson and Malachi Starks available prior to the Ravens selecting him, which is the most Ravens pick in the world. I swear to God, they just draft safeties nonstop, and it's just automatically such a Ravens pick. Baltimore safety, bang. Baltimore safety, bang. They might as well just have 52, 53 safeties and then have their entire damn practice squad safeties. That just feels like that's what the Ravens do. Lamar Jackson, safety. Go play safety. Everyone's just safeties. But for a while, I thought there was a chance they go that route because the talent is just too good to pass up on. But look, there's still some good pass rushers available. Will you make the jump? Ezeraku, Boston College, 16 and a half sacks on the board. Nick Scourton from Texas A&M, that's somebody who they really liked, still on the board. There's some interesting names still available. I wonder what they do in day 2. But they did have to make a jump up for this, technically. I don't know if they really needed to make that jump, but they did utilize one of their 5th-round picks to go up one spot to trade with Kansas City. Now, they clearly knew in their eyes that Campbell was a must-go-get player, or else they wouldn't have done that, right? And knowing that teams were looking to trade back into the first round for whatever position, maybe it was for Campbell, maybe it wasn't, they felt the risk wasn't worth it. We have 1 billion picks over the next couple of years. What's a 5th-round pick if we secure our guy? And let's not act like a lot of these NFL analysts and a lot of these NFL experts, if you will, were saying that Howie does it again. He got a premier top 10 style of guy, top 15 guy, one of the best linebackers there is in this draft, sitting at 31. So clearly teams and experts thought he was significantly better than that. Don't risk it by allowing another team to jump back into the first round, whether they were targeting that position or not. And I'm cool with that. I got no problem with that. They tried to trade up previously in the draft. The Chargers. I know there was a lot of buzz when Green Bay was on the clock. I believe that was at around 23. Now, of course, they are going to claim like this was who they had their eyes on, even if it wasn't, because that's what you do. That's what you say. But truth be told, I believe Howie Roseman when he says it was for Campbell. I do pretty good and pretty well with the BS meter. And I know Howie likes to manipulate people and media and leverage just as much as he likes to manipulate cap space and money and contracts. So I'm not going to act like I'm just naive and taking his words for face value 24/7, because quite frankly, I do the complete opposite. But a lot of what he said so far this offseason has been the straight up truth. And I think at this point, he just knows, listen, I'm good at what the fuck I do, baby. I'm amazing at this. I'm sniffing myself. I'm smelling myself. They don't want to do that too much because sometimes it can backfire. But how many times has he stated publicly, I'm going to go with something that's unconventional. I'm going to do things that are a little bit different. I'm going to go about my business in ways that you probably never saw coming. He paid an all-pro linebacker. He paid a running back. And they just drafted in the first round for the first time in like 50 years, a linebacker. But the truth is, and I want to give Elliott Shorr-Parks a lot of credit here with this view, what you can't do, and I probably have already done this throughout the last maybe 9 minutes or so, just because on paper it says linebacker. They view him as an edge with the ability to pass rush. Forget position. They view him as pass rush ability, who can play linebacker. Not so much a linebacker that can pass rush. And I couldn't agree with that more. Now, the Eagles did not have him in as one of his top 30 visits from what I've seen. They only sat with him once and got to speak with him once throughout the draft process, the pre-draft process. And when they did speak, who did he speak with? Washburn. What does Washburn do? Pass rush. Yeah, that's the coach that he communicated with. That was their vision. Now, that tells me two things. One, maybe they didn't think they can get their hands on him. He's too good. There's no way he slips like that. There's going to be so many teams looking at his raw natural ability. He's a physical freak. He's super smart. He's intelligent all over the field. He reads and reacts very well. Baldy did one of his breakdowns, and you could see that he waits, boom, pounces. Waits, boom, pounces. He reads and reacts so smoothly based on what the offense is doing, and he was doing it at a high level in the SEC at Alabama, another comfort zone for Howie over the last couple of years. You know, you see the Georgia Bulldogs and how effective they've been, so let's just continue to go to the top horses here and see what we can do. And when you go to the top horses, that being, you know, the premier college football programs, then you're going to have a lot of success. So I think that they didn't really envision a world where he was going to fall that way. So that's why they maybe didn't speak with him in the pre-draft process as much as they did. And then two, with it being with Washburn, I think that tells you exactly the way they view him on his skill set and how he can do some serious stuff as a weapon out there on the field. I hate to be super cliche and boring, but I truly do believe that they view him as just an all-around football player that you can do so much with. And think about what you're building with this defense. If you have Jalen Carter doing that in the line of scrimmage, right? At the line of scrimmage with the trenches, and you have Quinyon Mitchell locking up one side of the field as unbelievable as he has been, and you have Cooper DeJean doing this in the secondary, you are almost adding that middle wave and probably a little bit more, again, pass rush closer to the line of scrimmage. But if you have that ability to shore up your secondary with youth and, in Cooper DeJean's case, versatility, speed everywhere. How many times last year would you watch Cooper DeJean, if there was someone who was maybe catching the ball in the flat or catching the ball maybe a couple yards out of the line of scrimmage, boom, instantly, either Zach Ball, Cooper DeJean, wrapping the guy up and taking him to the ground within seconds. You're going to have a third member joining that party and consistently in your face. And I just find that so beautiful. But you are essentially getting another versatile, crazy, in-your-face guy that plays closer to the line of scrimmage. So you have that paired with Jalen Carter, and then you have your secondary youth movement going the way that it is. And you get to work with Vic Fangio, who's been in the league for a billion years. And look, I haven't even noticed yet, or mentioned yet, I haven't acknowledged yet that there was a torn labrum, and maybe that's why he fell. Maybe there's two reasons why he fell as far down the leaderboard as he did, and one could be injury, and people mess up all the time in the draft due to injury. I'm not telling you guard is the most well looked at position in first rounds, unless your name, I guess, is the Dallas Cowboys, but Landon Dickerson is an all-pro level offensive lineman. The reason why there was fear on him is because of his issues with his knees. This kid that still didn't get drafted yet for or from the Ohio State, Simmons. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a brain fart here, but Simmons. He's another guy that is starting to fall just based off of the injury concern. He is a serious machine in the trenches. So it could be as simple as there is fear about this torn labrum that the Eagles think, dude, what? You fix the torn labrum, you get ready, you're good to go. We trust our medical team. They've had great success with staying upright, staying healthy, medical team, dating back to watching them in 2022 go to the Super Bowl with one of the healthiest teams there have been that deep into a season. And oh, by the way, following that up in 2024 with a pretty damn good resume of health as well. So I really trust what they've been able to do in that aspect. And by no means would a torn labrum stop me from taking someone who I think could be as game-wrecking as Jihaad Campbell can be. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I really think could make this amazing. And this doesn't really apply specifically to Jihaad Campbell. It's more about the nature of the Philadelphia Eagles, the NovaCare complex, and the work culture that has been set. But I think the way Jihaad Campbell is as an athlete, his mentality, his ability to play the game, and being an Eagles fan and having the passion for this organization as a fan prior to putting on the uniform, I think there's always more pride when that happens, being a South Jersey local product. Because I know, and by no means am I comparing myself to the NFL, but we all dream as kids playing your favorite respected sport for your hometown local team. You're telling me I get to put on the orange and black and play for the Philadelphia Flyers growing up at the Wells Fargo Center? I'd cry. I'd cry and make sure that I maximize that opportunity without a doubt, with every ounce in my body. So I could imagine listening to Jihaad Campbell talk about, how he's excited for this and watching his reaction, knowing that he's going to have that Kelly green on. It's amazing. And not only does he have passion for the Eagles, but one thing Howie Roseman said, and you could really tell in his voice that he meant it, he said that they have tremendous passion about him, the player. Which makes sense why they would throw away a 5th-round pick just to make sure they secure him at 31, because chances were probably unlikely for someone to scoop him if they were trading back in the 1st round. I could be wrong. He had way more knowledge of the situation than I did, but it seems to me that, because what I was going to say was the injury was number one. I never finished and closed out this thought, but if injury was number one on why he slipped, number two is people just don't value that position. People just don't value linebacker like that. And the Eagles are trendsetters and they like to be ahead of the curve more than they are waiting and reacting to what everybody else is doing, the way some of these poor organizations are ran. Because by then, you're one step ahead. You're always playing chase up. There's teams that are 4, 5, 6 steps ahead of you, and you can never catch up to them. You're always behind. So one of the reasons why he probably fell was because of that. So would another team jump to 31 to get him specifically? I find it hard to believe, but knowing how much they value their assets, to throw away a 5th, knowing that you're securing and getting your guy that you are passionate about, I think that makes sense. And I think that sort of ties a bow on them. And the BS meter, it's not going off, because I think they really did value him that high. I don't think it was, we're just saying that because we picked him. And the rest of the NFL world going, how he does it again. All these great players just seem to sort of fall in his wheelhouse. Well, yeah, there's great talent that falls all the time. That's why when I keep hearing, wow, there's not a good draft, and I don't know if this year's the year to take a 1st-round pick, maybe we should trade back. There's going to be stupidity that occurs all night long. There's going to be dumb decisions by a lot of these bad GMs that are going to force amazing talent to slip. And truth be told, there's some good talent still left that they would have taken at 32. Ezaraku, they would have taken at 32. Nick Scarrington, they would have taken at 32. So the question is, would they have been satisfied with taking them at 32, just stand pat? Or do they like them enough to think if we can actually make a serious move in the 2nd round, they're worthy of more assets? Is it we like where they are for the value at 32 and not moving? Or is it we like putting together pieces and getting rid of some of our other draft selections in this draft for them in the 2nd? Sort of like what they did with Cooper DeJean. They flagged him as a guy that we need to go grab whatever it takes in the 2nd round. He was worthy of a pick in the 1st round. We can get him here. Let's get after it. Do they view any of these guys left on the board in that manner? I mean, you bring someone in for top 30 visits, then I think there's probably something to that. But again, is it just because, hey, if you're there at 32, cool? Or is it you're a guy that we think can be serious for us, and with that, I'm willing to shave off a couple of other potential draft selections in the mid-rounds. Let's shave them off so we can get you here. I don't know. But Howie's always on the prowl. And so is Green Lawn Fertilizing. They're on the prowl, making my lawn as beautiful as humanly possible. They are based in the Philadelphia area, best in market, experts in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and they're so knowledgeable that they've created their own custom blend that will have your lawn recovering. I just spoke with Amanda yesterday. She said, hey, Brodes, May 19th, we're going to get your next set of treatment going for your lawn. Really looking forward to it. I've seen the progress pictures that you've taken. It looks tremendous. We're so happy with the progress we've seen, and we can't wait to continue. And I said, thanks, man. I can't either. I love when you guys come. It's a very family-like oriented atmosphere. Whenever they come, I go out, say, hey, how's it going? We talk a little bit about the birds. We talk a little bit about the Phils. We talk a little bit about what exactly is going to happen with my lawn for that specific treatment. And it's just amazing. And it's so important to lay the groundwork for the rest of the season. So they are offering 2 free treatments and 10% off for you right now. Make sure you get your lawn started. Seriously, I didn't take care of my lawn early on, and it was ugly. All right, it was ugly, and I'm starting to see a little bit more green, a little bit more smiles from me when I walk outside. My neighbors are now noticing it as well, asking me all sorts of questions on what I've done to make sure it looks as crisp as it does. And I say, seriously, Green Lawn Fertilizing, just the best in the business. You got to check them out. Make sure you check out the link in the description, which will take you right to their website through my link. It'll tell them that Brodes sent you. And yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Get yourself started today. So one area I would like to really focus on is when I see someone who could be this skilled, and when I see someone that could be this amazing, I think about getting to go to the NovaCare complex every day and seeing Lane Johnson compete and watching Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown get after it with Devontae Smith, watching Jalen Carter. Now, they're all different positions, but when you see that, Quinyon Mitchell is a rookie coming off of winning a Super Bowl. Cooper DeJean is a rookie coming off of winning a Super Bowl and having a pick 6 in the big dance off one of the best quarterbacks to live. This is how we do it. This is what you have to do every day. And when you're surrounded by that attitude, when you're surrounded by that winning culture, when you're surrounded by that work ethic, I think it really does sneak into your bloodstream. And that becomes who you are. Now, you got to have it. Andre Dillard did not have it. And to not be able to work at offensive line in this organization tells you really how much he didn't have it. Bad. But when you see what this kid's able to do in SEC, at Alabama, and these big-time schools, playing against these big-time programs, he just looks like a guy that can make plays all over the field and wreck people, wreck the game, force fumbles, get to the quarterback, long, athletic, drop back in the middle of the field, actually defend as well, where you're not just dropping back and then here's Derek Barnett lost, Hassan Reddick lost. It's you have the ability to actually cover wherever you are on the field. You have the ability to be like sticky glue and you're stuck to them. You're suffocating them. So the quarterback who has the ball in his hands doesn't have time or space while you're trying to deal with Jalen Carter, who is breaking through the interior and getting into the QB's face as well, with Quinyon locking up the number 1 wide receiver as well. You see what I'm saying here? It's going to be a lot of pain and a lot of suffering for any team that looks at the Philadelphia Eagles. And I just think it's one of those things. And I used this example on the radio last night. This is why this episode's coming out a little later than I wanted. I was on the air till 2 a.m. last night. I came home. It was like 3 a.m. and I said, I am just, no, I'll do it in the morning. But it's sort of like, for me, I'll take a non-football example and tie it to football. But when I got into the WWE, it's because I watched what those people did every day, and I realized their passion for their craft is my passion for sports talk radio. So I love this. I'm obsessed with this. I will never stop this. I want to be great at this. It's all I think about 24/7. That's how the WWE superstars think about that craft. Doing stuff off the top rope. Their promos with the mic in their hands. I'm obsessed with watching them try to be as great as they can be with what they love, right? So when you're Jihaad Campbell and you go to the NovaCare complex and you see Howie Roseman's desire, you see Nick Sirianni's work ethic, you see A.J. Brown and Lane Johnson, they don't do what you do, right? They don't play the same position you play. But what it is it's you're seeing how they attack their craft. They attack their ability to impact the game, their work ethic in the offseason to make sure that they're ready. And look, there's going to be learning curves. I don't want to make this seem like this guy's just going to walk in and be an automatic 1,000 and he'll never have any sort of ups and downs, because even Jalen Carter, who was a legitimate warrior, he had to go through some learning curves his first season. He hit a wall. His stamina. He didn't know what it was like to play up against these offensive linemen every single snap and beat them every single snap. It's not just playing. It's not just being out there. It's not just being available, but it's being a force every single snap with all the snaps that he ate. Now, he did pick it up rather quickly and figure it out rather quickly within one season, but that first season, there was a wall that was hit, and he had to learn what that was like. So there's going to be learning curves with Jihaad Campbell, just like there is with anybody. It took Nolan Smith a little bit of time to get going. I mean, I guess Coop and Q didn't really have to really adjust that much. They just were thrown into the fire and were excellent. So, look, maybe there is a chance, but you see a lot of the Penn State linebacker type of stuff, and I don't want to make it seem like that's exactly what this is going to be, but it is a new era. And I almost feel in a way, and I don't want this to sound like it's apples to apples, it's more just about the mentality. But if you think about the NBA over the years, there was a time where there was more of a traditional sense of, this is your point guard. This is your shooting guard. This is your small forward. This is your power forward. This is your center. Now they say it's positionless basketball, where your center in Jokic can run your offense and facilitate at the top of the perimeter. You don't have the traditional Chris Pauls anymore that are known to just set up your offense. Now you can have a point forward and this and that. And I almost feel, and I don't want to call this positionless football because that's just a joke, but there is a way to do this where it's a little bit more like that, where just because you're a power forward doesn't mean all you are is a power forward. You can also bring the ball up. You can also run point. You can also do this. I think there's ways now that you're watching some of these linebackers per se, and even Cooper DeJean, you can do so much with them. There's versatility. You can get creative. You can get unique. You can have a Swiss Army knife. Well, you know, if you have a lot of guys that you can do a lot of things with, it just opens up the door for creativity, confusing offenses, having to make them think. They can watch and study a lot of tape, but you have something sort of, you know, up your sleeve that you can throw around, especially with someone like Vic Fangio and his presence. So I just think it's an incredible selection. It's just someone with such a high ceiling that can play all over the field. And he can pass rush. He can play over the middle of the field. He can run around and make tackles sideline to sideline and chase you down when you think you have a big gain. But here it comes out of nowhere and he trips you up. And now it's only a gain of 3. Instead, it could have been a gain of 23, but he makes a stop and forces a third down. Now it's a punt. Now Jalen gets the ball back. Saquon's starting to run. And now bada bing, bada boom. It's a big 10-point swing. I could see that happen with Zach Ball, and you got all pro. You know, it's funny because I took a couple of calls last night, and the first instant reaction was, what does this mean for Nakobe Dean? And with all due respect for Nakobe Dean, one, I don't think it means anything. You can't have too many good players. They say this about defensive ends all the time with the rotation, right? You can't have too many good pass rushers. You just rotate them all. You keep them fresh. Bada bing, bada boom. It's a pass rusher. Doesn't matter how you get your pass rush. Get your pass rush. You got a pass rusher. So you can't have too many good pass rushers on your roster. You can't have too many good, talented players on your roster. And Nakobe Dean should never stop you from getting an athlete like this. Nakobe Dean's 5'11". And there's fear about him not being able to stay upright because of his size at this level. Now, he did definitely prove himself a lot this most recent season prior to the injury. He was playing like a serious machine out there, so I don't want to downcredit that at all. But, I mean, you're talking about a 6'3" version of Nakobe Dean. You're talking about a Zach Bond. You know, it's just, you can't say, hey, we can't have this guy because of Nakobe Dean. That would go back to then you're just drafting for roster need, air quotes, instead of best player available. If you're just drafting the best player available, regardless of the position, you're going to find ways to get them on the field. And when you find ways to get all this unbelievable talent that Howie Roseman has selected on the field over the years, and then, of course, what's going to be upcoming this weekend, I mean, you're in good hands. So I never understood the Nakobe Dean tie because I don't think it matters. You're going to have Nakobe Dean, and when he's healthy, he's going to make plays. And you're going to have Jihaad Campbell, who, when healthy, is going to be an absolute stud. An absolute stud. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point we go, how did this guy fall to the Eagles again? How did this guy fall to Howie Roseman? Well, people were afraid of the medical red flags, I guess, and also we just don't value linebackers like that anymore. Well, we'll be the first to do it. Then it'll be a copycat league, and other teams will start to appreciate linebackers, I think, over the next couple of years. But then at that point, Howie will be doing something different. But as for now, he zigs when everyone zags, and that's what he does. And he got Jihaad Campbell, who I love this pick. I love it more and more as I sit here and just consume it. It's incredible. It's an amazing pick. He's going to be all over the field. He's going to make stops 24/7. Leading Alabama in tackles. Kid's a machine. Unreal. I love it. Thank you guys all so much. Really appreciate you guys kicking it. Go Birds. Talk to you on the next one.